We bring you stories about people who are living and working in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta and the major cities of the country. But in this fight for voting rights, the real action, the real proof of the concept that we need federal protections for the right to vote is occurring in small towns and cities all across this country, particularly in those states where the legislatures have a GOP majority. We have one of the warriors in that fight here with us this morning. She's a minister of the gospel. She has political experience. She's been a longtime resident of Lincoln County, Georgia. She's a mom, she's a wife, but she's a fighter. And last night she succeeded, or really 2 or 3 days ago, she succeeded in beating back a measure that would close every polling place except one in Lincolnton, Georgia. We are so happy to have you with us this morning, Sister Denise. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into what happened last night that was all over the news. Tell us a little bit about how you came to be an activist.
Wow. My mom, my late mom, raised us up to not just think about ourselves, but to be concerned about everyone and to help them in whatever situation they were in. And so it's been in me since childhood. And as you know, we've been together many, many times on issues that affect people, human beings, not just people of color, but anybody who needed our help. We were there to support them and give them help, not just in Georgia, but around the country. And that's what we do. That's our ministry. That's our life work. If I hurt, the Bible says that you too, if you hurt, then I hurt. So we are our brother's keeper. We do help each other. And it's not always easy. It's not always comfortable, but doing this work, you don't have a comfort zone. It's not easy. You go when you don't feel like it. You do what is necessary to help God's people. And we're in the Bible Belt, I guess you would say. Sometimes I question that, but that's what they say. But it's about doing the work of the Father, helping any and everybody that's in need, whether it's civil rights, criminal justice rights, rights, educational rights, whatever it is, we stand in the gap to help people who are in need. And that's
now you yourself were at one time a school board member.
Yes, until a few years, until 2020, I have served on the school board in Lincoln County. My tenure began in 1992 when, and to my amazement, the local paper printed an article that I was the first African-American female to be elected in Lincoln County. I didn't take that as an honor. I thought that was a disgrace, you know? But I've tried to do my best in that position. I was told election day that I won, and then 2 days later, I was told I was in a runoff. So we know how elections are in Lincoln County. So we moved on, and we're back out here, full force, continuing to do the work.
Well, it
doesn't matter if you're an elected, if you're committed, you're gonna do the work.
Reverend Freeman, let me pose the big question or state the case. You've been in the fight a long time, but this particular battle is in Lincoln County, Georgia, which is near Augusta, Georgia, which is near South Carolina, where I am. In Lincoln County, the Board of Elections, sometime last year got together and decided that they would close all but one polling place in the county. They had 7. And they decided to really eliminate the 7 and create 1 instead of 7. And it came up for a vote on Thursday, January 19th. And tell us what happened.
Well, on last night when we were at the meeting, they didn't have it on the agenda to vote. They decided that, as they always do, throw a curveball. So it wasn't voted on last night, but we did present them with our 600 plus petitions yesterday around 3:38-ish to Lavinda Bolton, the election supervisor or superintendent. So they're counting or certifying those petition signatures as we speak.
Well, why was this so important to stand up against closing of 6 polling places in the county to just have one?
As Ms. Mathis knows, we are an extremely rural county. And we are, as I'll take myself as an example, give myself as an example. I live some 20 miles from the city of Lincolnton. I'm less than 10 miles from Calhoun Falls, South Carolina. I'm about 12 miles from Elberton, Georgia, the home of John Clark and so many other great activists there. So we have a lot of senior citizens. We have a lot of poor people in our county. If you look, it depends on what stat you look at. We're from, say we're 23% poverty level. Some say we're 25 and another stat says we're 27. I want to say we're about 30% in the last few years because of COVID and other situations and circumstances. This is a county where there's no, this is a county, there's no Uber, no Lyft. When I go to Atlanta, I can get transportation. When you come to Lincolnton, if you don't have a car and a driver's license, so to speak, we have some people who have been gracious enough, like myself, my husband, and so many others, Miss Helen Cabot Bennett, and so many others around here who have helped those and assist people with access to get them registered to vote and take them to the polls. Their suggestion last night from the Board of Elections is that they will use senior citizen vans to transport people to the polls during the election. Well, my thing is, I've been here 38 years and you've never used senior citizen vans to assist your constituents to getting to the polls. So why now? Why are you saying now? Now, senior citizen vans on Tuesdays usually take people to dialysis and other medical facilities. So are they going to omit those folks to take people to the polls? And how is just 3 vans going to get all the thousands of voters to the poll? So it just seems like they're trying to do something that they don't even have a plan for.
Well, it sounds like they have a real sinister plan, and the plan is to keep people from voting. You stated so modestly that you presented 600 petitions at the meeting where they were supposed to vote. It wasn't on the agenda, but it was probably in the plan to vote. But it was not just you and the 600 signatures. We know that several groups, several strong women like yourself, Helen Butler, the Georgia Coalition of the People's Agenda, Black Voters Matter, Anna Dennis with Common Cause Georgia, and the Georgia Augusta Interfaith Coalition, and I'm sure many others came as a group and said no. What do you say about direct action in the face of the election board trying to take away people's right to vote?
I think it goes to the point where they're the good old boys, as I call them, and I believe in being frank and honest. I think this is a measure that the Republican good old boys came up with and instructed the election board. This is my opinion as to what to do, how to do, and basically because of the media coverage they've been getting, they said, well, we're not going to do this when the cameras are on us. We're going to wait and do it a month later when everybody's gone. But what they don't understand is We're not going to shrink away. We're not going to disappear. And we're not going to let them get away with what they're trying to do. We're going to stay on them like white on rice, or whatever old folks used to say.
Well, I'm one of those old folks. I say it myself. I really learned about this from Janice and also from CNN. This Lincoln County Election Board got coverage from all over the United States. And of course, you know, if it's all over the United States, it's all over the world. Why, in your opinion, is it such a big story across the country when it's just a little county in Georgia?
Well, because I feel like from the research, looking at the data and stats, with the state Senate passing Senate Bill 202 and Senate Bill 282 and 283 to dismiss the 282 and 283 basically restructured our Board of Elections, where before we had 5 members that were appointed by 5 different entities. They took off the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. The county commissioners, who are all Republicans, have 3 appointees. So they have the power, and that's what they wanted, power and control. If we don't stop this in Lincoln County, this is going to be their test case for the rest of Georgia and the rest of Republican stronghold states and cities across the United States of America. Now, if we were selfish, we would have just done this for us, but we're looking at the big picture. We have to fight this fight so we can nip this, as old people would say, we can nip this in the bud, spread to the rest of our country. We are supposed to be the greatest country in the world. We go and we tell other people how to establish and maintain democracy. I feel at this point in time, this country is a hypocrite because they're not doing what they have tried to educate other countries to do. My Bible says charity and love begins at home. So if you're not doing it in this country, why are you trying to tell everybody else how to do it in their country? We must do what we preach. We must be examples of what we teach and what we are telling other people to do. Let's do it here. And let's, if you would allow me, let's talk about Manson, if I can mention, yes. And Semina. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yes.
Cinema. If they are truly Democrats and they're truly for this, I don't care if they borderline Republicans. I would say this to Mitch McConnell and every Republican in the U.S. Senate up there to represent, there to make sure that every citizen in this country have the freedom to vote, the freedom to work good, fair paying, quality jobs, the freedom that we can get loans, the freedom that laws aren't made against people of color, but they're made for every citizen of this country. And if they're up there thinking about me and mine, then they need to come to the House and get out of politics. We need people who are going to do what's right by all of the citizens in this country, and not just for the select few, not just for the rich, because the Republicans seem to have no problems passing laws that are going to be beneficial for the top 1% in this country, than to think about the 99.
Well, Reverend Freeman, you got me ready to jump up and shout and run around this room. But before I do, I wanted to ask you about something I heard you say in the press conference during the board meeting, election board meeting in Lincoln County, Georgia. We are not going backward, but we will show you, we will teach you, we will walk you through the process of what it takes to go forward. I thought that was just a different take on what we're facing and how we're going to overcome it. What do you mean we'll show you, we'll teach you, we'll show you how to move forward?
Well, evidently some of them represent us are ignorant to how to do just the top. So we're willing to teach them. We're willing to show them. If it means going to Congress, to the House, if it means going to the Senate, we are willing to do whatever it takes in the state as well as in the US Senate and House to teach them. And the basic thing is, when you get a bill, don't just vote on it because the person sits next to you tell you it's a good bill. Actually read it. And if you don't have time to read it, we'll read it for you, little notes, and tell you exactly what's in that bill. Or voting on things, opinion of what they're voting for.
Jan, I'm gonna shut up and let you get in a word in edgewise.
Oh, no, I was enjoying the conversation, but I do have a question for Reverend Freeman, who I have known for years and years. We've been allies across the years. Athens is not that far from Lincolnton, and often I would go down to Payne or down to Augusta and go through Lincoln County. And I practice law in that area to a small extent. But Reverend Freeman, answer me this. 2 questions. One, what rationale did they give for closing all those polling places? And did you find it credible? And then the second thing is, the superintendent of elections in Lincoln County is a Black woman. Do you think that there is, I look at Herschel Walker, I look at Tim Scott from South Carolina, do you think there is a new play in the right-wing playbook, get you a Black totem, and you can do anything you want and escape being accused of being racist?
To answer your first question, no. In the beginning, they gave us no reason or rhyme as to why they were closing the polls. Last Thursday, at the county commissioners meeting, for the first time we heard it was for ADA. We went around Saturday, took pictures of all of the precincts, and they certainly are ADA efficient. So that's ludicrous. To answer your second question, and I'm already in hot water because I tell the truth, her husband came up to me last Thursday and wasn't very nice. I've known him since I've been here, Mr. Bolton. And he came in my face again last night. And my thing is the truth. What old people say, a guilty dog holler loud, or a hit dog, whatever. So I'm gonna leave that at that. But I think you're exactly right. They will find people like Herschel Walker, Tim Scott, and the Jones, whatever his name is, in Georgia, to be their tokens and to follow their directions and to do. And I think that is probably the case here. Well, let me go back and be just frank and honest. In my heart of hearts, I believe that's the case here.
When she was interviewed, she said that, well, we tried to find other places, but the churches and the fire halls don't want to be involved in anything political. And my thought, and I've been worried about this a lot, that the violence that we saw on January the 6th at the Capitol may not be confined to Washington, D.C. And poll workers are quitting. It's getting harder to find people to work elections. Are you concerned that there might be intimidation at the polls come the midterm elections?
With everything that's happening in the country, that is a concern. But that was the first time we heard her complain about not finding enough poll workers. The truth of the matter is, we have a lot of young people who were working the polls, but young people aren't going to let you talk to them any and every kind of way. And some of them had enough courage to put their dismayment of their treatment by the election superintendent from pen to paper. So it's not that you can't find them, but you got to treat them and talk to them like they're human beings and not talk at them any kind of way.
Clearly, go ahead, Davida.
I was amazed to find out that there's a state law in Georgia that said if 20% of the affected precinct or registered voters show opposition to a change, that the action can't go forward. So in other words, if you get petitions from 20% of the electorate, the registered voters in a particular precinct, or I guess county too, then they can't go forward with the action. You presented 600 signatures. Was that enough to do anything in regard to that state law?
You are quoting OCGA 2-21-265B, and A also applies to the end of it as well, the same law. Yes, and we read the letter to her quoting those laws and facts. And we gave her the information, the petitions, in enough time. I think it was like 2.5 hours. She could have certified those petitions in that time. She chose not to. So when the meeting started at 6:30 and she was asked, she stated that she had not even started and she didn't know when she would, but she finally said she would do it this morning. So I went by this morning and she's actually doing it. Do we trust that she will count them fairly and correctly? No, but we're going to not let any name be disqualified or dropped when we know that we have checked and double checked and triple checked those petitions.
Well, I'm relieved somewhat that you have the attention of the national media, and those names, of course, are known to you. And if they don't check them correctly with the County Board of Elections, you can check them publicly. I know you know what you're doing. But my question is, you talked about the young people. Do you have young people who are working with you and the others who showed up at the meeting on Thursday to show them how to do and what to do in this situation? Because you said something that touched my spirit. You said you didn't want the children to have to fight this fight over again.
That's right.
But it looks like the children, at least the young people, are going to have to fight this fight right now, not just in the future. Do you see a field or a harvest of young people who are coming to the forefront of this fight, who can sit under your tutelage and the tutelage of the other strong women and men who are fighting this fight right now? I think I'm at a point in my life where I wonder, will they know how to fight this fight? And are they being taught how to fight this fight?
Yes, we started several years ago working with a group of young men and women here in Lincoln County, Georgia. We had a group of them to run for every seat on the Board of Education that year. And most of them came very close to winning, but we did in District 3 bring in a Black female as the Board of Education member for that district. And we're very happy for that, because for years, it was only one Black. So, and now that I'm off, we are back to one Black, but like I said, she's young, she's there, she's learning, and she will help us teach others as we go from having this experience. But yes, and there will be people that look like us challenging every open seat for the upcoming election. We've been working hard. The young people have got out there and vetted potential candidates for the upcoming county election. So yes, I feel very hopeful. They've learned and they're putting their knowledge into action. So yes, we have a group of young folks who are working hard. I particularly have kept them in the background with this, and I think Miss Attorney Mathis knows why. You don't always show your hand. Sometimes that silent way is the best way, especially when you live in the good old boys territory. And I tell them all the time, those I love, I protect. And I try to be a good steward of that. I can take the heat, I can take the threats, I can take them walking outside of my house at 4 o'clock in the morning with their flashlights, trying to intimidate me, but I don't want my young people to go through that. So that's why I've been at the forefront of this, because I know how crazy these people can get. Been under FBI protection before because of their craziness. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that.
You talked about the Senate mansion and cinema. Well, let me just say this. I'll just be honest. My feet are itching. I'm old. I'm handicapped, but I'm ready to march. I'm ready to do direct action in Washington, in Greenville, in Georgia, or anywhere direct action is needed. Do you still believe, I know you do, but do you still believe in direct action? Will it do any good? Is it the right time?
After January 6th, let me go back when Black Lives Matter and others were marching in Washington, and the president decided he wanted to go hold the Bible upside down for a press conference. And he couldn't do any better because he wasn't familiar with the Bible, in my opinion. But anyway, so he did the best that he knew how to do. Bless him heart. But anyway, and then January 6th happened, and had that been Black people, we would have been dead. Blood would have been running. The reflection pool would have been dripping in red blood. And the way they're going through this process of indicting these folks is ludicrous. It's insane. Every one of them should have been charged with. But anyway, I'm not a lawyer, so I'll leave that alone. But yes, going to the streets is one of the options that we must, in DC and everywhere else, here in Georgia, South Carolina. We got to go back to the basics for a minute so that our children and grandchildren, I'm a grandmother now, Janice, I'm a grandparent of 4, my husband and I, 2 boys and 2 girls. So I don't want my young grandchildren to have to keep fighting these fights. I don't want their parents to have to keep fighting this fight. We must stop this now. Yes, I'm 60 plus years old, but I still got a lot of fight in me. I still got a lot of energy, and we got to do whatever it takes to make sure that this buffoonery stops ASAP. We don't have, my mom and other civil rights activists over the years, they would tell me, while we sleeping, they are planning 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, how they gonna keep their foot on our neck. Well, those old people didn't lie. That's exactly what they've done. That's exactly what they continue to do. And we have got to start doing that and everything else that's necessary, because we're not gonna shrink and go backwards. We're not gonna allow that. We're not gonna be silent. We will be peaceful and nonviolent, but we're going to demand, we're going to stand bold and demand from everyone who's standing against freedoms. We're going to be like Moses, and we're going to Pharaoh down in Egypt land, and we're going to tell him, you got to let our people go.
I heard Dr. William Barber say basically the same thing that you just said. You know, we want to skip over parts of our struggle and skip over parts of our strategy. And a major part of our strategy is public demonstration. We invented that, and it worked. And I think we need to do it again. And we shouldn't set up arbitrary deadlines. Oh, we want to do it on Dr. King holiday. No, this is not a symbol. This is the hallmark of our democracy, what set us free as a people. And so we have to be persistent, and we have to keep going. I've been saying ever since I've been big enough to know about it, the March on Washington in 1963, was a long time coming. They planned it for a long time. It was an idea that was a long time coming. And there was a Democrat in the White House. Lyndon Baines Johnson was in the White House. No, I'm sorry. Kennedy was in the White House because he wasn't assassinated until November. Kennedy was in the White House, and so many African Americans thought that he was going to be a champion for voting rights and African Americans' rights. But the demonstration went forward. And I find us in a similar place in history where we have a person who declares that he's our ally. He says he has our backs, and he's had our backs all of his political career. But we have to step up and do what we know works. That's just where I am on it. And I'll join a whole bunch of old people on walkers and canes and wheelchairs, and I'll be right up there with them because I think that's where we are in history. And I was so proud to see you on television, telling our story and standing up strong for what is right. I think you're exactly right that Lincoln County is a tiny county, but it has a great impact across the whole South because the plan that they have for Lincoln County is the same plan they have for every county that is controlled by Republicans. And we just can't let it go. We fought too hard to get it. Our parents fought too hard to get it. Okay, that's my speech. It doesn't compare to your sermon because, but I'm with you. I'm with you, Reverend.
Thank you.
What she's not saying though, is that when we fought for the King holiday and Reverend Freeman and I marched in Athens for the King holiday too. All the time I was in law school, I'd get called on the day after King Day because we didn't have the official holiday, and I would always take that day off of class and go march with the folk downtown in Athens, and Denise Freeman was always right there with us. When that fight came to Greenville, yeah, we marched, we petitioned, we boycotted, but at the end of the day, it wasn't the tipping point. The tipping point was some strategy that you came up with, the bill. And I just
keep saying that, Jan. But okay.
I want to ask Reverend Freeman, I know that litigation may be in the works. We're still hoping to get some federal legislation. Talk to me about what you need, what you see going forward, and what people who see this interview can do to help.
Well, you know, we need to, as your sister said, we need Davida, I believe. Am I correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. We need to make sure that the person at the top, we don't need anybody to speak for us. We need to speak directly to them and let them know as president of this country that we here in Lincoln County are part of your administration. We supported you, and this is what we need you to do. I think, and I can't quote it word for word, but I think he said, no matter what, Black folks will still go to the polls. And I want him to understand, no matter what, we still need your assistance because some of us won't be able to go to the polls. So we need you to push this as hard and as you can. And if you don't understand, we're willing to come to teach, to educate, and to show you how to do what needs to be done here in little old Lincoln County. See, nobody is above learning. Nobody is above being taught. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. I don't care if you're a citizen in the county of whatever state. We all can learn something from each other. And that's what we did back in the day when we were working with Janice and her fellow comrades across the state. And we have to continue that today. People are like, well, he's the president. Well, God is God, but I talk to him every day. He got the keys to heaven and hell. So why should I be afraid to talk to the president? He's just a man, just like, human like me.
Come on,
let's be clear. Joe Biden didn't come to the table prepared to scuttle the filibuster. He had to be led to that point of view.
Well, we need to lead them some more.
Yeah, last year this time he was against ending the filibuster.
Right.
And this year he's for it. I wish that he had spent his political capital on ending the filibuster from the beginning. I wish he had done these things about voting rights and pushed this Voting Rights Advancement Act in the beginning. Now that so many things have happened, I'm not saying they're his fault, but so much has happened and the shininess has worn off his presidency. It's more difficult to push it. It's not impossible. I think we just need to be extremely persistent in demanding. I hesitate in saying demanding, but we don't get it unless we demand it. Nobody gave us anything for free.
Amen. So the Bible tells us, and I relate to that a lot because it's a social justice manual as well. It says, when you stand boldly and proclaim what it is that you want. Now, when I can stand bold, the voice gets louder. And when God tells you to do something, he's already prepared the way. So we got to use our voice. We've got to use direct action. We've got to do everything that it takes within the law to get what we desire to be done. And this is not about big eyes and little eyes. It's about all of us coming together, putting our petty differences and stupidity aside and working for the common goal that's going to help everybody, young, old, Black, white, Hispanic, Latino, etc., and so on, our Native American sisters and brothers. That's what this fight is about. And if you look at the real stats across this country, voter suppression has affected everybody who's not of the white majority. And what they don't understand is that it's affected their poor folks, but they don't care. They only care about that little 1%. We've got to make our voices count. We got to be heard. And by any means necessary, we will be heard. And that's what we got to focus on. That's what we got to sit down and strategize and put all of our 2 senses in it and respectfully listen to each other and utilize the facts that together we're strong, but separately we're weak. So we need to be strong across this country, and we need to come together and we need to work together just like Common Cause did. Fanika Miller with Black Voters Matter, Miss Helen Butler with Georgia Coalition for People's Agenda, like Reverend Dr. Christopher Johnson with the Augusta Interfaith Community Coalition. That's how problems are solved and victories are won. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Denise Freeman, pastor and activist. I'm in your church and I'm following your lead. I got one more question.
Okay.
I guess it's more of a comment. I want to hear you comment on it just briefly. So many of our pastors either don't know, don't accept the social gospel. You know, you talked about this, the Bible being a manual for social justice. How do we teach and lead our pastors to accept the social gospel, to accept the mantle that God clearly gave all of us?
We do it by teaching them and being transparent and telling them. We ran into an issue here in Lincoln County with a new pastor that started January the 1st in his pastoralship in one of our beloved churches. And the previous pastor had let us have our meetings there, etc., and so on. And when he got the call, he says, I personally don't believe in politics in the church. And we call.
Does that mean he don't believe that Jesus turned the money tables over, or did he skip that part, or how does that go? Or they didn't take you to court that night, or I'm trying to figure how that.
Well, you know, we're in the education mode with him through others. I haven't got to him yet. I'm sending
You're
others.
such a diplomat, Denise. That's the only thing different about you. You look the same, you sound the same, but you done got a little diplomatic
Well,
polish.
when you learn from some of the best, like Janice Mathis, you learn to, as I said before, we learn from each other.
Learn from
And
each other. And we draw strength from each other.
from
Yes.
each other. And I am, I've had trigeminal neuralgia, which is called suicide disease, which has been a physical and health battle. And I have been in remission for 7 years, and doing this struggle with this particular situation, it's come back, and there's a lot of pain. They don't call it suicide disease for nothing, but I've worked through it. I haven't missed an interview. I haven't missed a meeting or being out there canvassing, because I told God, if you don't want me to do this, then to bring me home. But as long as I'm here.
Praise God.
Yeah. So we have to work through the pain. You know, sometimes my blood pressure is stroke level, but I'm still out there. If I die doing what's right, then it's well with me. But if I'm sitting home nursing a wound, because then my people perish. And we got to be better and stronger than that. You know, we got to make sure that God's people don't perish. We got to make sure that we feed his lamb, that we feed his sheep, and that we work every day, as if it's our last. And I don't have the luxury of waking up and saying, well, I'll do it if I feel like it. I just wake up and say, Lord, give me the strength. This is my assignment. You ordered my step. Give me the strength to carry it out. And he has, and he will continue until it's my time to go to glory.
You said that this is something that affects not only Black people, but white people too. Lincoln County is about 65% white or something like that, 30% Black. Those numbers may not be quite accurate, but something like that. Do they get it? Do the lower income white folk understand that this is their struggle too?
Yes, and let me just say, with the petitions, we have had white people in our community sign the petition. It's not just Black people. We've had people as late as yesterday calling us and say, nobody's been here. And these were white citizens. We want to sign that petition. So from 12:30 to right at 3 o'clock, we were still getting signatures from people. So this isn't, as the good old boys would like people to think around the country, this isn't just about Black people signing petitions. This was across racial lines, people signing these petitions, because they too see the injustice of closing our precincts. And one point I'd like to make, and give you as an attorney a chance to think about, we built the Walker T. Norman Gym. It was supposed to be Lincoln County Recreational Gym, but Walker T. Norman named it after himself. That was built with splosh monies. So I don't know the legalities, but I know when you collect splosh money to build a building or whatever, you have to put in what services and what you're going to do to utilize that building. And I don't believe making it a precinct was in that. But
So,
see, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if they can change the rules down the road, but
it's a question, and it's a question worth exploring.
thank you.
I got some young folk that I'm gonna get on that question. Thank you so much. Do you promise to keep us updated? I know we're gonna stay in touch with each other personally, but can maybe we take a field trip down to Lincoln County and meet? When will the Board of Elections meet again?
Their usual regular meetings have always been the third Thursday of the month. They changed that last night to a Wednesday night instead of a Thursday night. So,
They're hoping y'all to be in church and forget about it.
well, you know, people showed up, and I am so happy that the community filled that place, standing room only, and in the midst of this pandemic. And had they been notified of the hearings, they would have showed up then too. And people ask me why I wasn't at the hearing, and I want, in case I didn't make myself clear yesterday, my dad suffered a stroke and was in the hospital in the Atlanta area. So being the eldest living child, I was where I needed to be.
Well, we certainly understand that. Well, let's stay in touch, because I feel like going to Lincoln County and standing.
Come on.
I feel like standing in the number. You done open the doors of the church, and I feel like coming on in. Thank you so much, Reverend Freeman. We will be watching you, and we want to help in this situation, because we know that Lincoln County is Greenville County and Spartanburg County and all the other counties in Georgia. They'll be coming after us next. And we want to, as you say, nip it in the bud. Thank you so much. And we pray in your strength, your health, and all good things for you and the group that's working to keep elections free and open for the citizens.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you, sweetheart. Love you.